Hi there, and welcome to the Voices in Veterinary podcast. You might be wondering who I am right now, and I am Tara Balliot, the marketing manager here at Xoran, and I am your host today because we are turning the tables, and I am interviewing our podcast host, Laura Dennis, the VP of Sales and Marketing here at Xoran. Thank you for joining us today.
I'm so happy. My world is a little bit mixed up. I feel a little crazy, but I'm gonna roll with it.
Great. Are you ready to just dive right in?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So what makes you passionate about supporting the veterinary market?
So we've already had so many people answer this question, and there was this kind of overarching trend of giving voices to animals that don't have a voice. And I think it's so apt because it's like this double meaning with Voices in Veterinary, where we're getting a variety of voices of people who work within veterinary. And then we're passionate about giving voice to animals who can't disclose and say what they're feeling. So all of that I'm super passionate about, but I'm gonna go down a different angle, which is I'm so passionate about veterinary because there's so much work to do. And in a good way, there's so many clinical advances that can be made to help animal care, and CT imaging is just it's not at the bleeding edge on the human side, but we're at a forefront in veterinary where the CT imaging can really change how our clinicians are able to care for animals. And so much work that we have to do to bring that message and to make it easy, like literally easy because our scanner rolls into place, but to make it easy for our veterinarians to understand that this is something that can positively impact their care for animals, their own quality of life, because they are actually knowing what they're looking at before they go in to do some type of exploratory surgery. It's painless diagnostics. It actually gives that voice that is lacking because you can't get that, description of what the pain is like and things like this. So I'm passionate about that, and I'm passionate about the work that we have to do in helping to progress as Xoran as a whole, the field of veterinary medicine, and being part of where the clinicians are going to take it in the next 1, 3, 5 years, of where they're going to realize all the things that they can now do from a minimally invasive surgical standpoint to a diagnostics to treatment planning that were not really at their fingertips because the diagnostic tool was so onerous, additional anesthesia, and that it makes it exciting to see how gratified our customers are.
Yes, I definitely love the idea of how we are able to improve the workflow for veterinary practices and making it easier for them to get the answers that they need for them, the animals, and the pet parents.
Yeah. And pet parents, yes, because you're a pet parent yourself.
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so the next question, what trends are you seeing in the veterinary market?
So again, this is something that we've been bantering around and talking about, and I'm going to be really excited when our listeners start giving us some feedback about what trends that they're seeing. Hint, hint. But all of these trends about expanding in areas where there's not enough access to veterinary care. So we're seeing our clinics open up new locations. I'm seeing that as a trend, and then some of these trends where the improvements in dental care, which we haven't spent too much time talking about, but no matter which device you have, using CT as an annual diagnostic and preventative tool when you do that standard cleaning, I think that's another important trend that's happening because your animal doesn't have to suffer, and you don't have to wonder what's going on, and you can just like we all have our 6 months checkups and what have you, we can have that for our animals, and that can improve their quality of life overall.
Yes, lots of animals suffer because it's hard to brush their teeth.
Yeah.
They don't enjoy it, so it's not fun for everybody. So
right.
Yeah.
So annual thorough cleaning coupled with a CT, you can catch a lot of things before they get to be really problematic or painful, or you're not going to have the animal's going to have to lose his teeth.
Yes.
So.
Great. All right. Next question. What do you see as the most important issues facing veterinarians this year?
I think there's going to be some adjustment in this in the growth that we saw during the pandemic, I think we've seen so many people get pets, and I think it's going to. I think they're going to keep their pets. They're still going to have care for them. That's true. Yeah. But there's going to be some type of leveling off, and there's going to be competition among these multiple clinics that have opened. So adjusting to whatever we consider our new normal here, whether it's post-pandemic or everybody keep on wearing masks because this way everybody stops getting sick all the time. That's controversial in some parts of the country, but what that workflow is. Are you going to let your pet parents back into the office? Are you going to keep doing adjusting to that new normal in a way that works for clients and keeps clients coming in is important. And then that's one of the ones I think they'll face this year. In the next 2 to 5 years, I'm excited to see where pet insurance comes in. I think it's really taken off in certain parts of the world. For example, Australia, they have a lot higher percentage of animals covered under insurance. And we could all say what we think about medical insurance on the human side, but on the pet side, what winds up being is animals get more preventative care, and they wind up getting the client is more willing to approve some of these procedures and such because it is covered. So I think that's going to be a trend that we're going to be talking about in the future.
Yeah, I know. I've had pet insurance for my animal, and I hope it's becoming more common because sometimes it's hard to find a veterinarian who's like, oh, I even am using that.
Right.
So,
they take right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a trend they're going to have to figure out whether are they going to get on board with it? Are they going to continue to be cash only? Is it going to be some hybrid model like the way we see in human dentistry? Because some of these procedures that can be done, the care can progress, but if the clients aren't willing or able to pay for it, then the care is not going to get approved.
Yeah.
So this is the insurance part has to, or the willingness for the cost to be approved has to keep up with what the improvements are to the care itself. And if we have something that's off in some manner, we have to do it this way so people can actually see it, because I can see the table right here. If it's off in some manner, you're gonna have veterinarians who can do really advanced life-saving procedures, and the clients
who can't afford
are not going to be able to pay for it. So and that's going to again affect our veterinarians' mental health, and they're feeling like they have an impact on their patients, a positive impact on their patients.
Yeah, because I think that we're just going to keep seeing the trend of how we treat our animals is just going to increase even more. How they see them as children.
Yes.
It's just going to keep getting greater or staying that way. Now they're part of our families, and so having insurance and that right care is going to be important to more and more people.
Yes, and that's going to probably be another topic of a future. We're coming up with all the topics. We'll tease them now. Is animal consent and fear-free. We sort of touched on that last time. How do you get your with David and with Adrian, the episode with Dr. Starman and with Adrian, our Xoran veterinary product manager, of how can you? What are some ways that you can get consent? And we're going to see this apply to CT scanning, because while the animal is sedated, getting the consent in the future to preparing for some of these procedures, I think it's cutting edge, but I think it's going to be coming as our clients are going to be expecting that. Although there are still doctors where they just grab that, I wanted my daughter to consent to a shot, and he's like, just make her do it. Or we could just spend an extra 2 minutes letting her breathe a little bit, and then she'll have a negative experience with you. But okay, I know I can hold her down. Yes. Yes,
because I feel the same way with my dog. I'm she's just scared. Give her a minute. Let her chill out. Get used to you. Yeah.
Yeah. But if doctors feel like they're on a treadmill, or the staff feel like they're on a treadmill, then there's not going to be allowances for that, and that goes back to the practice kind of culture of how you're welcoming your clients and the patients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll stop asking. I want to ask questions next, but it's you has to ask the questions. So I'm just gonna just wait my turn. Just wait my turn.
Are you struggling a little bit with losing control, Laura?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay,
No.
so we've touched on pet parents a couple of times. Who are you the guardian of?
Well, okay. I brought a chart from Excel of my children's fish. And you can't see it, but I'll some of them have passed because they're aggressive fish. Because those are the pretty fish. Those are the ones that are like interesting colors, are the
That makes
predators,
sense.
right? Just like, lizards, the bright colored ones are the poisonous ones. So sadly, some have passed, but they all have eclectic names. My oldest daughter went through it. She watched the entire Friends, oeuvre, body of work. So there's a Joey, there's a Phoebe, there's a Monica.
Oh, great.
There's a wild card Bubbles because the youngest kid got to name one of them. And then she's like, yeah, that's Kala. And they also has their proper name, their description, and then a picture of them. And then it always bothers my daughter because some of them have changed colors or the colors don't match what the color you got from the Google. So yes, we have an aquarium. And we travel a lot, and I have 3 young children, so that's enough for now.
Enough to be responsible for.
now. Yes. But and in fact, I'm only responsible adjacent because it's my husband and their project of cleaning and feeding. But there's all this automatic stuff now, automatic fish feeding and such. So, but it's nice to look at and it's relaxing. Side story. I thought people love looking at the fish, so I will like going snorkeling, and I was up for it at the Barrier Reef. Not that interesting. But my children loved it. They love looking at fish, and they love diving. I didn't understand why the tour guide kept on diving, because I'm like, why? It's my tour. Why are you going to look at the fish? No, he was going underwater to point out the fish. You're supposed to look underwater, but no one told me this. I'm sitting here, I'm like, all right.
Is somebody gonna take me on a tour?
Right, what are you doing?
Do you think he's gonna pull the fish out for you?
I don't know. I was just trying to stay afloat and keep track of all the people and counting in my head. But it was but I only realized that I think 2/3 of the way in. So the last third, I was like, oh, okay, I'll go down and look at the fish. And then I finally saw the fish. I'm like, it's this big. I could have, they're the size of the ones in my aquarium. Why do I have to go do this?
You missed the good ones.
So, yes, I love snorkeling. Will you ever do it again? No.
Okay, great.
That's all the fish. All those fish, they saw some of the same fish. Not all the same fish. And I'm sure fish experts will say, no, Laura, it's not the right environment. It's tropical fish and such. But I'm just learning. I'm just learning.
Sorry.
Just
We all
learning.
are. We all are.
Yes.
Okay, my last question. Will you share a crazy veterinary office story experience with us?
Well, I don't really have an office story because I did go with we had German Shepherds and Dobermans growing up, but back in the day, you really didn't do preventative care with your animals. But I have to say, shout out to VMX, where it is so kid friendly, animal friendly, cat, dog, pet, recently born animal friendly. There's a separate area for hanging out with your cat versus separate area of hanging out with your dog. But then the pièce de résistance was a place to pet puppies, and they were already vaccinated because I was going to say that's a borderline thing. And then I was able to bring my children in because of course I have to travel. What do you have to bring them with you in order to travel for multiple days. So I got to pet puppies, and I feel like they don't have a bucket list because they're too young for that, and that's depressing. But they really enjoyed it. They really enjoyed it. They got to pet the puppies. They were vaccinated. They weren't newborn puppies, new puppies. They were young puppies.
They were squirming around and getting around.
Yeah. They were up and about, and they were probably a little bit over it, but there were caregivers who were watching them, making sure they didn't get too touched out and stuff. So I thought that was super cool and semi-crazy. Crazy because it's cool. But it's different for me coming from where I spent my career in medical, where it's very buttoned up, full suit. Everybody's, very, very, children. What are you going to bring children? Are you crazy? Pets? Are you crazy? And so it's a different, and I really like that kind of family friendly, a lot of female clinicians, and knowing that like, yeah, we still have all these other things going on in our life, and we're, having our careers. So that's my crazy veterinary story.
Having puppies does not sound crazy to me.
Oh, you're all in for it. You're here for it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Anywhere I can get an emotional support puppy, I'll take it.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. That's all the questions that I have for you today. Thank you for being our guest here.
Super fun.
And thanks to everybody listening. That was the Voices in Veterinary podcast. I'm Tara Balliet.
And I'm Laura Dennis, and we'll
see you on the other side.
Bye.